Hey everybody, and welcome to a pretty cool video. I thought today it'd be fun to share my video game related toys, action figures, bobble heads, and statues with you guys. Now, if you are new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button, and while you're down there, leave a like on the video as well. So, I have a lot of stuff to show, and I decided to not show every single item because this video would be a couple hours long. So what I've done is just picked out a selection of what I think are the cooler figures, and then later on I'm going to take some footage around the game room and insert clips of some other stuff that I might not necessarily talk about in this video. But I'm hoping that in this video you guys will get a pretty good look at least most of the stuff that I have. And if you're interested in seeing more about my game room or anything, I have plenty of other videos on the channel that I highly recommend you check out. So starting off first here, I picked out what I think is probably one of my older figures, and this is the Jimmy Lee Double Dragon figure. This was released by Taiko in 1993, and what I think is pretty cool about this one in particular is that it has a clearance tag of $2.88 on it still, which is pretty cool, and I didn't get that lucky, but I think I got this for about 10 bucks at a local toy show last year, and this is actually one of the first action figures that wasn't like Nintendo related. I guess it's kind of like NES related, but this is the first one that wasn't like a Pokemon or a Zelda or a Mario type figure that I actually bought for my collection. And so this is the first kind of figure that I think kind of crosses over more into toy collecting than video game collecting, and I'm very glad to have this in my collection. Next up, I have a few figures that were released by GamePro, and this is by no means a complete set, and I actually think that I'm missing some of the cooler ones. They also released figures for Luigi's Mansion and Super Smash Bros., along with a few other games, but I'm happy to have the ones here that I do. So, first up is Eddie from SSX Tricky. This is Series 1, it says. Just on the back here, it says, also look for Virtua Fighter 4, Sonic Battle 2, Super Monkey Ball, Luigi's Mansion, Super Smash Bros. Melee, and more. So I'm not exactly sure how many games they released figures for under the, the GamePro Presents kind of line, but I got Eddie there, and then also Elise from the same game. Very cool. Then I have two from the game Cell Damage. This one is Violet, I believe, yeah. Very cool stuff. And then also Snyder from Cell Damage, which was a game that came out on PS2, GameCube, and original Xbox. Then the last one here from the GamePro Presents series I think is the coolest one that I have, and this is from Super Monkey Ball. Very, very cool. Obviously, Super Monkey Ball being a GameCube game, and a very good one at that. So, very glad to have this one. And it's got some pictures on the back for Virtua Fighter 4 and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. So, some other figures that I would definitely like to pick up at some point, but so far, these are the only ones I've ever seen in person. These next ones here are part of a very, very large series of toys that were released by Toy Biz, and these are mostly from Capcom, and they're called the Video Game Superstars Presents. Now, these first four that I have here are all X-Men vs. Street Fighter figures, which I think are very, very cool. I'm not a huge X-Men fan, but I have seen some of the cartoons and some of the earlier movies and stuff. But Street Fighter obviously is video game related, so I had to pick these up when I saw them. I believe I got these from the same show that I got the Double Dragon figure from, and like I said, I have four of them here, and I think I paid $60 for the four. So, once again, fairly inexpensive, but I'm just going to go through and show them to you guys really quick. I think these are very cool, and as you can see, most of the figures that I'm showing you guys are still, in the original packaging, still factory sealed. And if I can find them, this is really how I prefer to collect the video game related toys and stuff like that, just because they look really, really nice, and I like displaying them like this. They're easy to hang on the wall, and I just think that it's cool to have the original packaging. For video games, I only collect stuff that's complete in the original box, so for toys, this is kind of the way to go if you want that original packaging, is to get them sealed. Sticking with the Video Game Superstars Presents line, I have 4 more figures for different games, also, you know, from Capcom. So the first one here is from Resident Evil, and this is the Zombie and Forest Speyer, I think. And I picked this up at that same toy show, but not the same year. I picked this one up more recently, and this was only $5, which, you know, I definitely cannot pass up something that cool for that cheap. I also have a Tomb Raider one here, which is very, very cool. I grew up playing the Tomb Raider games on PS1 with my dad, so that's always very cool. And I have another Tomb Raider figure that is not sealed in the game collection here. And then the last 2 from the Video Game Superstars Presents line that I have are both for Darkstalkers 3, which is a PlayStation 1 game. Very, very cool. And I got both of these from the Portland Retro Gaming Expo 2017. So these are fairly recent editions, not even a year old in my collection yet. I don't remember what I paid for these, but if I had to take a guess, I think it was somewhere around like $20 to $25 a piece, which is more than I would normally spend. But when you're at something like the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, you kind of want to buy something. So I was very happy to get those, and I think they're an awesome addition to my collection. Now let's take a little bit of a break from the action figures, and I'm going to show you guys all of the video game related Bobble Heads that I have. Now I've only grabbed one here to show in this clip, but I'll take other clips to show you guys the rest of them. But this first one here is the Star Fox Adventures bobblehead for the Nintendo GameCube. And what's really cool about this packaging and everything is that it just snaps together. So it technically doesn't really come factory sealed. And so if you want to open it up and display the figure, you can do that while keeping the packaging. Normally I would have him displayed outside of the packaging, but you know, I kind of am low on space. So I decided to put him back in the packaging because this is still very displayable. So I have him like that. In addition to that Star Fox one, I also have the Metroid Prime bobblehead, which I think is very, very cool. And then I have every bobblehead that was released during the Game Boy Advance and GameCube era from Nintendo. And I have them, most of them, with their original packaging or boxes, which is very, very cool. And I actually got all of these, including the Metroid Prime and the Star Fox one, from one guy who actually used to be the head of marketing at Nintendo of America. And he worked there for 11 years. And I bought a bunch of stuff from him, bought basically his entire collection of employee items that he had left over from his time there. And it included a lot of stuff. I was also told that the Donkey Kong bobblehead, which he's standing on a little Game Boy Advance, and also the Wind Waker Link, who is standing on the silver GameCube, I was told by him that both of those were prototype versions, which is very hard to prove, so I only have his word to go off of, but either way, I'm really happy to have them all, and they're super awesome. Next up, I have just a few kind of random figures from various game series, and the first of which is from Soulcalibur, and I believe this was released by Epoch. I might be pronouncing that incorrectly, but it's 1999 from Namco. Very, very cool. I actually have a couple other Soulcalibur II figures, which I'll show you guys here in a bit. Then I also have a figure of Duke Nukem, which is very cool. This is 3D Realms. Sararis, or Resource Company? I may be saying that incorrectly, but once again, another very cool figure. Duke Nukem was actually one of the first video games that I remember playing back on PC when I was very, very young. Then I have a figure here from the original Turok, and this is from Playmates, and it says free inside Turok 2 game codes, which is pretty cool. And Turok is another game that I played as a kid, so very cool to have this figure here. And then the last one that is kind of random is a figure from Quake 2, and this is Alien Strogg Iron Maiden. Very, very awesome figure. I believe that this is more of a PC game related action figure, but Quake 2 was released on PlayStation as well, so I decided to pick this up, and I think it was fairly cheap, somewhere around $10 or $15 from a local game store. Next up, I have 3 figures from one of my favorite PS1 games, and that of course is Final Fantasy VII. Now this is a game that I played a ton as a kid, and I believe that I got to the 3rd disc and then got stuck on a giant tree. And it's been quite a few years since I've played, so I don't remember exactly, but if that sounds familiar to anyone who's beaten the game, that's the part that I eventually got stuck at, and I never completed it. But I found these figures posted on a random website. I don't remember what it was. This was a while ago now, but I think they were like $15 each, and shipping was extremely cheap, so I decided to pick them up. And I think that originally I ordered 4 different ones, but one of them got really badly crushed during shipping, so I'm pretty sure I returned that one, but I have the other 3 here, and these are from ArtFX and also Squaresoft, of course. But I have 3 different ones here. Very, very cool. Here's the second one. And this one and the last one, they kind of have like this like almost like transparent type plastic on them where, you know, if you shine a light through them you could see it. It's not completely transparent, but very, very cool. And here is the 3rd one. And there's many, many more of these. I only have these 3. Like I said, there was a 4th one that I ended up returning, but on the back here it's showing 5 or 6 more that I don't have. So there's a ton of those out there, and I'd love to track down the other ones someday. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a couple Soulcalibur II figures as well. And so the first one here is Necrid, and I believe I found this at a Goodwill, actually, for probably just a few dollars. But I've had this one for quite a while. Very, very cool figure. And there's a bunch in this series, and actually the 2 that I have would be the 2 that I'd be least interested in owning. Of course, they're the 2 that I have, but they also have a few more. Looks like there's 5 in total, and I'd love to get the rest of them because I think these are awesome figures. The other one is Ivy, which I think is probably my least favorite out of the 5 that they have made. But looks like there's also Nightmare, Astaroth, and Voldo. And Voldo, I think, would be my favorite one to get. Nightmare and Astaroth, though, are both also very, very cool characters. I'm a big fan of the Soulcalibur II game. I played it a lot on the GameCube when I was younger. I think I rented it from a Blockbuster. But very, very cool. I'd love to track down the rest of those ones as well. Next up is a fairly new one, which most of the figures that I like to go after are, you know, older stuff. This one is actually from God of War 3, which, of course, is a PlayStation 3 game, and I actually don't even collect PlayStation 3 games, simply because it's fairly new, and I also don't really have the space for it. I'm more of a retro gamer, but this figure, I got it in like a small collection that I purchased, and I just didn't want to get rid of it because it was too cool. But this is by Play Arts, and so it is opened, but it is all there. So there's the front of the box, and then it's got some Velcro holding it closed, and then you can see, hopefully the glare is not too bad, but Kratos is in there, and he's got like some extra weapons and different hands you can put on him and stuff. Like I said, the box is opened, but it is all in there, and from what I can find online, this is not a very cheap figure, and I think I ended up, you know, only paying a couple dollars for it because I got it in a large bundle, but still very cool. And I actually have one other Kratos figure that I got from the GameStop Power Up Rewards program a very long time ago. This is one that I haven't really seen in anyone else's collections. I'm not sure if it's really worth too much. I think, you know, obviously it didn't cost me anything. I just used my GameStop Power Up Rewards points to get it, back when they actually had physical items you could get. But still very cool to have both of these Kratos figures. I'm not a huge God of War fan, but I did play the first one a little bit on the PS2, but I'm still happy to have them. So next up, I have a few Mario Kart RC cars, which I think are very, very cool. I believe this is all 3 of them. The one I grabbed to show you guys is the Donkey Kong one, which is very cool. And this one and also the Mario ones that I have are both still factory sealed, and then I also have the Yoshi one, but it's opened, but still includes the original packaging, which is very cool. And I originally found Mario and Yoshi at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo 2016, and they were both opened, but had the packaging. And then at the Portland Retro Swap Meet 2017, I believe, I actually found the Mario and the Donkey Kong both sealed. So I was able to upgrade my opened Mario to a sealed one, and then I got the Donkey Kong one to complete the trilogy. Very, very cool. Now this next one here is pretty cool. I like it quite a bit, and this is like, you know, my childhood in an action figure, basically. And this is the original Ash and Pikachu. This one came out in, it looks like 1999 by Hasbro. And I actually have quite a few older Pokemon figures. I have some clips to insert here to show you guys, but I have a ton of these, and so I just picked out the Ash and Pikachu one to show you because it's the most, the most special one to me, symbolizes my childhood. And but like I said, I have tons of them. A lot of the older ones that I've gotten from various places, local game stores. I believe some of them came from the ex-Nintendo employee who I got all the Bobble Heads from as well. And then I've just picked up random ones here and there as I come across them. And I haven't really paid too much for any of them, but the Ash and Pikachu one that I showed you guys is the most special one to me, and I love having all these Pokemon-related figures. Every once in a while, a special edition for a video game will come out that includes some sort of statue, or a figure, or a plush, and I got this one fairly recently, and this is the Dot Hack GU Volume 1 Rebirth Special Edition, which comes with the action figure. This is, of course, for the PlayStation 2. Very cool set. This one is opened, but it is fully complete, and I got this from a local game store for $100, which is actually a very, very good price for this. I have seen them sell for over double that on eBay, so I was very glad to find this one in person. I've been looking for it for a while, and to find it for such a good price was awesome. I also have another PlayStation 2 limited edition that comes with a plush, which you guys are seeing here. This is the Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Special Edition. I got that from a game store as well. I don't remember the name of the game store, but it was a place up near Seattle. So very, very cool. I paid $100 for this one here, and I believe I paid about $60 or $50, $40, something like that for the Devil Summoner one, but both very, very cool additions to my collection. Next up here are some more newer figures. They're not super new, but they came out around 2005, and these are Mega Man figures, and this is not a complete set. I have 4 of 7. So here we have Proto Man, and I got these from the same website that I got the Final Fantasy figures from, and luckily none of these came damaged. We also have Shadow Man. And I love the packaging on these. The little like green grid background I think looks very cool. It's kind of like a plain simplistic style packaging, but it works really well. And I think these figures are very, very cool. And then we have Electric Man basically. Kind of a weird name for him, but still very, very cool. And then last but not least, we have Mega Man. So very, very cool figures there. I would love to get the rest of them. It looks like I'm missing Guts Man, actually, and then the other two say coming soon. So I'm not sure if those ever actually ended up getting released, but if they did, if these two on the bottom here, if you know of them being released, please let me know in the comments down below. And last but not least, I have my favorite figure in my entire collection, and this is a pretty special one. I got this from the same show that I got the X-Men vs. Street Fighter figures and the Double Dragon figure, and I believe I got this the first year that I went, which would have been 2017, and this is the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Link figure, released around the time of the N64 game from Nintendo Power. This is from the officially licensed Nintendo Collectibles, and this thing is amazing. I love this thing so much. Like I said, it's my most favorite figure in my entire collection, but I have some other Ocarina of Time figures as well that you guys can see here, and these are also some of my favorite figures in my collection, and I just think that they're just super cool. Obviously, Ocarina of Time is a very important video game. It's one that I had as a kid and I played a lot of. It's a game that I've never actually beat because it's not my favorite game of all time like it is for a lot of other people, but it does hold a special place in my heart, and I'm very glad to have these. The Nintendo 64 is my favorite system of all time, so trying to collect all the different Nintendo collectibles merchandise from that era is something that I'm very interested in doing. And if you look on the back here, there's a bunch of different plushes and stuff, and I actually have most of these already. So, you know, there's other Ocarina of Time figures that I would love to get, and they're not super rare. You can find them on eBay at any given time, but they're not super cheap. So I've been waiting to hold off and hopefully eventually find them in person, which is how I like to find most of my stuff. But yeah, my favorite figure that I have in my entire collection is the Link figure from Ocarina of Time. So I'm going to go ahead and end out this video with a bunch of clips showing other figures and stuff around the game room that I didn't mention, but still lots of cool stuff, so I recommend you stick around to the end and check it out. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to smack the like button, leave a comment down below, and of course subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.